So how do you get photos accepted to stock agencies? This is a question that a lot of people have. Recently, I got an email from Wirestock and they shared an article explaining what type of images and what criteria are gonna get these photos accepted. That doesn't mean you're gonna sell them, that just means that they're gonna get accepted and you're gonna have a possibility of selling these photos. So it's a pretty long article. I'm gonna put a link down in the description, but I am gonna go down the list and some of the highlights and then share some of the images that they're shared as examples so you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. Now, the first point on the list is original content. It has to be your photo, it has to be your video. This is something that you have to create. You can't just go online and download a free photo and then try to sell it to somebody else. That's gonna get you kicked out of the platforms. The fact that they put that here means that people have been doing that. Any photo that you upload, even if you use a different photo as a background, it has to be your photo. You have to be able to prove that it's yours. Point number 2 is quality. And I've talked about this in many other videos. Stock photos have to be sharp, clear, good focus, good white balance, a neutral white balance, no noise or any other artifacts. They have to be technically perfect. This is where a lot of people don't like stock photography because it is very technical. When you're selling prints or when you're selling fine art, you can get away with a lot of these rules that stock photography won't let you get through. So again, quality. Make sure that when you zoom in at 100%, and this is very important, zoom in that photo at 100% so you can check all the detail. Most people look at a photo on their phone, and when I look here on the screen, it's a small photo. It looks fine. And when I load the same photo into the computer and zoom in, you're gonna start to see all those artifacts and all those defects that you just can't see on a phone screen. The next point is relevance. Agencies are asking for current trends, social issues, cultural events, things that are happening today. If you turn on the news, you know that the whole world is falling apart. Not just one country, this is the whole world. So these are the types of images that represent what's happening worldwide today and tomorrow. We have to try to predict the future and make images that are going to represent what we think is going to happen. But the most important thing is to stay relevant, shoot things that are happening today. If the example Wirestock gave me was, we're in 2023, but they have a picture of people with balloons, happy 2022. Those images are not even going to get accepted because at this point they're not relevant anymore. When you go to the beach and you write Happy New Year 2024, do it in July. Don't wait till December because at that point it's going to be too late. So they have to be predictive images. Plan your shoots ahead of time and make sure you get the social aspects involved as well. Just whatever's happening, that's what's going to be selling, and that's the images that they're going to be accepting. The next point is your permissions. So photos with people sell. I know I don't do a lot of people shots, but they do sell quite a bit. But when you do a model shoot, you need their permission. If you shoot a house or property, anything that's recognizable, you need that property release. And then also, and many people don't know this, but if you shoot a model that has a tattoo, you're gonna need that tattoo artist permission. The art belongs to somebody else, and that's another one that most people don't know and don't realize when they get a photo rejected, and that's because it could be a tattoo. The next point is your metadata. Titles, descriptions. Make sure the keywords you're using are relevant to what's in the photo, that your title is at least 5 or 6 words, but it has to be relevant to what's on that photo. You have to describe what's happening on the scene. Where, who, what, when, something like this, the colors, what's happening. These agencies are gonna reject your photos if they're not gonna be findable because they don't wanna waste their time. If your photo's not gonna be found, why take the storage space? Keep that in mind next time you upload or you export from Lightroom, that all your keywords, your titles, descriptions are as best as they can be. And this is gonna help you not only get them accepted, but hopefully sold. The next point in the list is commercial value, and this is very important. We might have a really good photo, but that doesn't mean it has any commercial value. We're selling to stock agencies because they're selling it as a royalty-free commercial image. It has to have a selling point, a way to use it to sell or promote a product or a business. So keep that in mind. These images have to have a sellability. commercial value is interesting because it encompasses a big part of photography. It could be a background. Now somebody can add their product, their writing, their words, their logo, and sell it that way. It could be, in my case, cocktails, drinks. All of these images can be used by many bars, many restaurants, or articles. So they all have a commercial value, and that's something that's very important to find, or your photo's not gonna sell and the agencies are not gonna accept them if they don't have that sellability. The next point of the list is your technical specifications. Now, Wirestock works with a lot of agencies, so their minimums are a little bit higher than the others, but these minimums should be, you should be well above these if you want to start selling photos. The minimum size is 6 megapixels, and they want 3,000 pixels on the long edge. So that's minimum. A lot of cameras today are well over that, but when you crop it, make sure you don't go below 6 megapixels. They also want JPEG images. Wirestock also sells prints, and for these they recommend TIFFs. But for stock, for the purpose of this video, make sure you upload in JPEGs. The next point is the color. Make sure that your white balance is as neutral as possible and that your images are not overly saturated or just different cinematic LUTs or anything like that. That's more for video, but it's the same idea. It's to color grade your photos to where the shadows look blue or they look green. These photos used to sell and they were accepting them. Now they want a more neutral image that anybody else could modify if they want to. It's very hard to recover that once you edit your photo and upload a JPEG this way. Just make sure they pop, make sure they have enough color but not too much, and that the contrast is sharp. That way you can find your images in a grid, and this should help your sellability. Now, they also talk about videos here, and they go along with the videos. It's very similar to the photos, you know, the minimum requirements and all this. I'm not gonna get into that in this video. This is more about the photography aspect. But it's video and photography is very similar, and you can do video with the same cameras today. So if you're out taking a photo of an event, take a little bit of video. That might help you. The next point here is editorial work. Captions on editorial photography is very important. They want you to have the location and the date. This way, news outlets or blogs, they can use those photos and have the proper and the correct information. I'm just gonna do Shutterstock's format because that one seems to be accepted by all the other ones. I'm gonna put it here just so you can get an idea of how to do a proper editorial caption. And then there's also what's called illustrative editorial. These are a little bit different. Adobe does a lot of this. It's an editorial image but without people. So what they say is current events or news with brands and products to convey strong ideas. So they don't want any people and they don't want a regular editorial image. It's an illustrative editorial, a product or a brand or current news to convey strong ideas. So I've done some in the past where I had my Starbucks cup and I was working on my laptop without me, so it was just the laptop, the coffee, and you could see a hand or two. Those did fairly okay, but they want strong ideas of current news. People working on a laptop with the Starbucks, that was from many, many years ago, so that's not gonna sell today. But that's kind of like the idea, is you can use a brand, you can use a product, just make sure you're using it in a way that you're promoting a strong concept or idea. Just to touch a little bit more on editorial photography, a lot of times we'll go to an event and we'll upload those pictures and they'll say, no, you have to have press credentials. That happened to me years ago with the Ironman event in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I spent all day taking pictures and none of the agencies took them because I didn't have a press pass. Now, how do you get a press pass? This is, you got to play the game. When you're doing stock, you have to play. When you're doing anything commercial, we have to play the game. Now, the easiest way to get a press pass is to pay for it. It's about $100, $120. Travel Writers of America, or I'll put a link down here. You can put your information, they'll send you a little badge with your picture, and now you have press credentials. So sadly, the International Travel Writers and Photographers Alliance is out of business. So I will find some options and put a couple of links down here in the video description. A lot of times you have to be a published photographer to be able to get one of these passes. But the easiest way to get published is by doing stock. Post your pictures online. It might take a little while, but when somebody buys it and publishes it, I have a lot of photos in magazines. That means I'm a published photographer. And then that's all the credentials you need. We have to pay to play. That's just part of the game. I know this sounds like this is a lot of work. Stock photography is not that hard. Just make sure your photos are clear when you zoom in at 100%, that you have a concept, and that they're technically good images. And by that I mean the size, the dimensions, your captions. Just make sure to put all these elements together and your photos should get accepted. Once they're online, you know, it's just an algorithm game. Hopefully we'll sell them. If you sell one, then that'll start to gain traction. So the more images you have, the more chance you have of selling photos. So again, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope this helps. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.